And we are live. Welcome back to the show, the Awaken Live podcast, everyone out there in podcast land. We got some great stuff coming today. Real quick, before we jump in and introduce our guests, make sure you guys head out to the website, IamAwakenAlive.com, for just endless amounts of content on everything unconventional, lifestyle stuff. We've got recovery articles out there. We've got, obviously, all our old previous episodes of the podcast that you guys have been tuning into. A lot of great information out there. Even if you've heard one episode, maybe go back and listen to it again. You might pick something new up. We are working on the latest edition of Mad Fit magazine, so make sure you guys come out and subscribe, sign up for the next issue. You don't want to miss this one at all, I assure you. I'm not going to give anything away, but we've got some awesome articles and topics covered in that one. If you plug in the code MADFIT10, M-A-D-F-I-T, the number 10, you'll get 10% off. So that's it for housekeeping. I'd like to welcome to the show today my friend in strength, David Glissen. I met him through Don Jefferdino, who was on our show last week. He mentioned something that David said, and it was such a light bulb moment for me that came from this guy that I said I have to look him up, reach out to him. David and I connected over the phone. We've had a great chat, and I'd like to welcome another Southern boy. Listen, guys, we're going to sound like two rednecks chatting about strength today, but bear with it because I'm sure when the accents get going, it's going to get a little thick. So David Glissen from Southern Fried Strength Training in Mississippi. Welcome to the show, sir.
How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I know that was a very exuberant introduction, but I'm excited that you're here on the show, and I'm excited we were able to make it work. So I had Don on the show last week. Amazing guy, wonderful story, and real quick, I mentioned that in the intro. What stood out? He was talking about what you said, something about kids and maces and having kids use maces and clubs growing up for their strength training until they're about just preteen, and that really stuck out to me. So I wanted to say that because that's what stuck out to me. I wanted to address it. I know we're going to get into cover that, but real quick, man, what's your story, dude? Where are you coming from, and how'd you get into maces and unconventional lifestyle and all that stuff?
It was an accident actually that got me in. I'd been a martial artist since I was 8. I stayed into that till I was in my 20s, done a little MMA fighting, and got into powerlifting because a buddy of mine was going to Iraq and he had to do a PT test, and he's a big powerlifter. So we would do just ridiculous powerlifting workouts, 20 reps, 5 sets. We do that for 2 hours, then we'd go run 2 miles and got him ready. Well, when I got married and moved, I started judo and CrossFit in Clinton, Mississippi. Well, I got hurt in CrossFit doing kip-ups because I was about 250. And
I've never heard somebody getting hurt doing CrossFit.
Well, I'll tell you, it's so what's really good about CrossFit is it's competitive and everybody's together and you're working together, and that's awesome. But that will drive to push people further than they're able to go if they haven't been working out. They won't be able to tell when to stop, because your heart rate, because your blood pressure will go up if your heart rate goes up. It's just like over revving your car. Well, I got hurt, and it got to where I couldn't sit down in a chair and put my daughter's shirt on. Like if my thumb reached above my eyeball, my arm popped out of place, my left one. So I looked. I didn't have insurance, couldn't go to the doctor, and I found a Mace. And I found this guy named Rick Brown. They call him the Mace Man out in California. And
we're familiar. He's been on our show. He's a good friend of ours.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's a really good trainer. And we got to talking on the phone, and I got to watching videos, and I made a bowling ball mace out of a 15-pound bowling ball and a 3/4 inch gas line, about 4 foot long. And I used Gorilla Glue, to be honest with you, and it still works today. I used it yesterday.
We will put a Gorilla Glue link in our Amazon affiliate program for the Gorilla Glue plug there. So we're going to make sure that everybody buys Gorilla Glue.
You need a Gorilla Glue and a pipe wrench, and you can make it happen with a bowling ball because it's just a big old piece of resin. So it's not hard to screw a pipe in it. Anyway, I rehabbed my shoulder back to 100% with that mace. And the Mace led me to a club. Club led me to a Bulgarian bag, and believe it or not, Bulgarian bag led me to kettlebells. So I really went kind of backwards from a lot of people, because most people usually start at kettlebells and go up. So, and that's what I've been doing for probably the last 6 years, I guess. I used to have a lot of trouble with my wrists because I would do real heavy bench pressing, and I've rehabbed them, and it's awesome. And that's all I do in circles or radius training. You're either doing radius training or circular training, depending on which plane you're swinging on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Like a kettlebell swing is a radius plane. It's not a full circle, so it's technically just a C, a radius. You're making a C motion out of the end of the bell with the way it follows. So, and that's my philosophy behind training is I think with the right weight, with a set of clubs or one club, because if you're working one club off one side of your body, whether you're going the straight line, lower or upper rotational, or you're going the outside body like your 360s and meals, the other side of your body has to counterbalance all that. So it's working you different than you holding two. But when you get two in your hand, you have to be very coordinated to swing two clubs at one time, because it gets harder, a lot harder. So you take 1 pound clubs and get an elderly lady just doing long cycle swipes, which would be very easy. She wouldn't even have to put a hip hit, just get her moving. Just literally get her moving the way her body's supposed to move. And I think that'll make all the difference in the world. Just easy peasy, simple,
The first time I was introduced to clubs, David, I was, it's about 6 years ago, probably about the same time you were. And they were Indian clubs. I'd gone to a Perform Better by Doing 1-day seminar out in, I was in Atlanta. It's about a 7-hour drive from here. Drove down there. And the reason I went is because at the time I was really into MMA also. And Martin Rooney was going to be speaking there, training for Warriors. And I was like, man, I got to see Martin Rooney live. But while I was there, Brett Jones was also at the conference. And Brett Jones gave this talk on Indian clubs as recovery, sort of active recovery. And the first part of the day was a lecture. And I'm listening to him say, well, some of that's making some sense, because, at the time I was still of the mindset with rest day, you sit on the couch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And he started talking about his shoulders, this and shoulder problems, and, where it came from, India, and the wrestlers used it, and they had all these great functions for it. And it came sort of from a martial background that, originally people used weapons, but when they weren't weapons training for the sake of combat, they still needed to recover, but they needed to have patterns being developed.
Right.
So anyway, in the afternoon, we get to touch some clubs. And they're those hard plastic 1 pound clubs. I thought I was a badass and was going to grab a 3 pound club at first. I'm strong, right? I'm stronger than everybody else in here. And as soon as I picked it up and did like one swing, I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I will listen to this guy and just do the 1 pound club, because he was stronger. Guys, I don't care if you're the biggest dude in there. If you've not used clubs before, just grab the 1 pound Indian club. So I get out there, and we swing these clubs for 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time where I was in my training and where I was in my life, it was the best my shoulders had ever felt, period. I mean, there was nothing to compare with the way my shoulders felt. All of a sudden, I was like, man, it's like the first 3-4 minutes, it was kind of, the coordination wasn't there, and I was sort of getting the rhythm of it. Right. Then all of a sudden, I was able to relax and let the club do all the work, and started to get this traction in the joint. And the next thing I know, I'm working through some gunk that's been there basically my whole adult life that I didn't even know was there. The next thing I know, dude, I'm standing up taller. My shoulders are just sitting right where they need to be, and I just feel fantastic. I feel like my shoulders can do anything.
Yeah.
And that's what was my first introduction to the clubs. And you're right, it's a 1 pound club. I still use them probably 4 times a week. I'll just come in here, grab them, and sling them around just because it feels good. The other stuff, the Mace and the heavy clubs, I use that certainly. with a lot of diligence as well. But the Indian clubs, they just feel good.
They do. Well, they're I'll tell you this, I've noticed since I've been into this, I watch a lot of people. I do. Though I'm blessed, unfortunately, I'm blessed with the ability to look at a video and be able to mimic somebody. A lot of people can't do that, or maybe I'm the only one. I don't know, but I can do it.
Kinesthetic learning.
Yeah,
that's what you are.
Great. So you know. And so I'll just take videos, and I've noticed there's two different styles happening here. There's a hard and a soft. What I consider soft is where you see guys turning their torso, their heels coming off the ground, they're moving their shoulders more, and the harder style, they're more rigid. And you see a lot of lighter Indian club swinging guys doing a harder style, because when you do light clubs, your circles get smaller. They should get smaller. And you should be able to work your fingers, the tips of your fingers holding the club inside and outside. And it's difficult. I mean, you stand there for 20 minutes and you'll get it'll be nice. Donnie is working, I think, with some guys, just like you're talking about recovery. And that's what I want to do, because I've got my daughter swinging them, my son, and I believe it's probably the only system that you could take and go from 6 years old to 60-year-old, and anything in between, any athlete, anything you do, throwing a ball, with swinging a bat, any of that, it's going to work into the movement, because that's the way your body works. It's the way your arm moves. And like, I think a lot of people, I hate to say it like this, but people like to make money. So if you look strong and somebody tells you, okay, well, he got this strong because he bench pressed, man, you're going to sell it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, because this is an old way of training. I mean, this isn't anything new, not really. It's been around for years.
Thousands of years.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's maces back when they wore armor and swords. Yep. So you're talking about, and you wonder how it didn't follow through. And I don't know what happened to it, but I tell you this, Donnie's made a product. That Adex Club is one of the few things that you don't have to have tools. You don't have to have BBs, shot, or water. And you can jump with the little pancake weights 2.5 pounds at a time.
Right.
I mean, that's 10 different clubs in one, starting at 3 pounds, going to 25. And I'm going to tell you something. If a guy's never swung a 25-pound club with one hand, that's no joke. That is a no-joke weight, because you're swinging feet. You're not a bench press. You're moving inches. You're swinging this club around your body.
Well, and it's also you got to factor in the speed, the distance away from your body, and also the weights at the end. So it doesn't weigh 25 pounds when it's moving. It's probably much closer to 80 or something like that if you start to do the physics behind it. It gets heavy quick.
750 pounds of torque is what it is at the bottom swing with a 25-pound club, is what Donnie told me. That's the equivalent to an F-250 diesel engine. So a 45 would be double that.
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah, and there's guys swinging that out there. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Kevin Wicks, but I have seen Kevin Wicks swing an 80-pound mace with a 5-foot handle 100 times without putting it down. 360s.
One-handed or two-handed?
Two-handed. But he did it.
That's impressive.
But he did it. He didn't even act like it bothered him. He wouldn't. He barely moved.
He's pretty cool.
Man, he's like Bud Jeffries strong, if you've ever heard of him.
Bud Jeffries is a good friend of ours.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Steve Bellinger.
Bud and I connected as first time we talked, and he was on the podcast. And we chat just about every day. Yeah, he was probably our 4th or 5th guest. He was early on our show, but
he does.
He's got an amazing story. He's an amazing human being. I've got nothing but love and respect for that guy, and consider him friend. I got a lot of colleagues in this field. I consider Bud a friend.
Yeah, he seems like I don't know him personally like you, but I follow him. I watch him, and he does some
Yeah.
incredible, unhuman like stuff.
He's awesome.
He is.
He's awesome. Well, listen, let's revisit this real quick, because the statement that got me onto you was what you said, and you just alluded to it with getting your kids going. So wrestling's a big part of who I am and my upbringing, and it defined part of who I was as an athlete. And I'd love for my kids to get into wrestling. And you said something about getting these kids doing the clubs so early in life, and I was like, that makes sense, especially if you had a grappler as a kid. Yeah. But then you said, really it works for just about every sport.
Everything.
And I couldn't think of anything more true. I see so many, especially in, you're here in the South. Baseball is huge.
Yes.
Because we've got nice weather for so long, and baseball season lasts. You got to be on 18 different travel teams, and you got to play 600 games on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So, but these kids, their shoulders and arms get worn out, and I think that if people understood the benefit of doing some club work and the circular strength training, that we would start to see that really diminish. And it's just how we could reach the kids and reach the parents and reach the coaches with this ideas like, hey, we get out here and swing some light clubs, we're going to last a lot longer. And
for sure,
that's sort of where you need to be for your training.
I think that you could apply my system ideally would be a set of clubs, adjustable, a mace, a Bulgarian bag, and a kettlebell. Those four things, if you could master those four things, I think you could pretty much do whatever you wanted to do, because they're so versatile. And you could take clubs like where you have weight rooms for baseball teams, just like you said. You take addicts clubs or 1 pound clubs or whatever, and you get your team out there warming up with that. Or if they get hurt, hot spots, they work out with them. Or you put them through a workout with it. So then when you're training, you work out with it. And then when you're running those long days playing ball games, you use it as recovery, rehab. And man, I think you would make a baseball team, because your endurance level swinging clubs, because it's one of the few weightliftings, maybe the only weightlifting that you can do to where it's closer to running than swimming because of gravity. And you take a club and you're doing an outside meal, and you're standing there, and you'll switch hands. Like I'll do a 20-pound club for 30 minutes, and I'll switch hands. I'll do one right, one left, and just have a flow, and I'll just sway, and I'll get a runner's high from it. And you can't, and then if you add weight to it, you could treat it like a powerlifting and do 10 reps, 5 reps, and build muscle and strength. And I believe, man, a baseball team with a set of addicts clubs would be, oh my goodness, I don't even know how far you could take that. I'd be scared to say, but I know it would make a difference, and it would do it fast too. Like you would see immediate results within 3 months. I promise you. I'm sure.
Yeah, I've been swinging it. I think it is sort of a universal translation to a lot of sports.
Yeah.
Now here's a more specific translation. I've been swinging a mace for, I think I told you on the phone that probably the 4th piece of equipment I ever bought was a mace from Scientific Wrestling, 53-inch handle, 10-kilogram ball end, about 1.25-inch thick handle, thick handle.
That's a thumper.
The handle burns the grip there.
Yeah, and, that's a thumper.
I got that thing. Maybe I don't even think I was married yet. So I'm coming up on this month. It'll be my 6-year wedding anniversary. So I want to say it was actually right before that. And it took me a little bit of time to even get it going, because it was a pricey purchase for me at the time. I was just starting out my business, so I didn't have a lot of extra money. And it was over $200. I said, well, if I'm going to get something, I don't want to get a 7-kilogram and then soon have to jump up. And a little bit of that was sort of not knowing.
Right.
I knew what I saw was good, and I knew there was benefit in the mace, and I was excited to learn and start off with the mace. So I said the 10 kilograms seemed like a reasonable weight for me. I couldn't have been more wrong. It's way too heavy to get started. But I was able to adjust. I used the sledgehammer to sort of get some of the basic motions down.
Perfect.
with the shorter handle, and then now I love swinging. I'm real comfortable under it now with the 10 and 2s and the 3/6s. And it took some time. It takes some effort. But my point was, one of my first pieces of equipment. So I've been swinging mace for a while. Last year I did my first 2 Highland Games events ever. Competing in that. Great sport. But there's the hammer throw in that thing.
Yeah.
Now there's a much more direct translation of you've been swinging a mace for a while. I took the hammer right away. I mean, that felt great. The weights for distance and the weights for height, that was unbelievably difficult and awkward and made me feel silly. But the hammer felt pretty good in my hand, because I've been doing a lot of stuff with the mace.
Right.
So, I do think.
How far did you throw it the first time?
The first time, it was only like 50 feet or something. It's nothing spectacular, but I mean,
I had good though for your first time.
I had people I was throwing with that threw in the 80s. You know what I mean? But for the first time, well, he was in the B class, and the games I threw with him was his last B class. He met all the standards and jumped to A right after that. So, wow. And he's really good. He travels a lot, and this is what he does. And he's awesome. What a great guy. Helped me out and stuff. His name's Brad Goldsmith.
See, I would like to try to take, the mace and merge a little bit of that because, like you said, they could benefit from that mace training or kettlebell training for sure. I know their equipment's a little different. I know they have the handles and chains, but yeah, they could still. Yeah, it'd be nice.
And my love in strength training lies in so Fridays I do what's called the Strength Guild here, and that's sort of me and a couple of guys come out there, and that's where I get on my odd object training, real strong stuff. I keep the fundamentals during the week and the kettlebell stuff and the club stuff all during the week. A lot of ground-based movement patterns. But then on Fridays, it's sort of a hybrid of strongman training, the Atlas Stones, the Farmer's Walks.
Yeah.
Heavy loaded carries, and then a lot of Highland game stuff for explosive power, a lot of throws and that sort of thing. And then sort of anything that sort of draws any blend or anything in that area. I mean, there's no rules, no limit on what the imagination has on Friday. But that's where I come from when I do my strength, real true strength training. Lifting of the ancient stones, sort of practicing that, lifting the Atlas stones, pressing stones, picking up logs, all that sort of fun stuff. And that's that I'm able to do without getting hurt because I do spend time with the mace, with the clubs, and with the kettlebells. That sort of stuff really, I think, has a lot of joint integrity in it. You get real strong joints, real strong tendons and ligaments. So when I go out there and pick up a rock, I'm not popping something.
Right. That's right. You'll see guys that are in the gym a lot, and then they go to move a sofa and get hurt. I mean, I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
There was a guy the guy was ripped, 230, he could bench 400 or 500 pounds. He was awesome. He went and
he must be strong if he's got a good bench press. We all know that in the South. That's
that's what
you tell people you work out, and their follow up question is, well, what's your bench?
Yeah, that's that. I'm telling you, I get that all the time. I wanted to do a video, but I know I'm going to take so much heat from it where I would have a bench press and I'd be like, well, you know what? This is what I do with my bench press. And then I just throw it over to the side and I pick up my mace. But you could like I have done a lot of bench pressing, and you could take a mace, which will be an off balance press. It'll be a pulling press at the same time if you've never tried it. Lay down on a bench press or a balance ball and just get your end of your mace out as far as you can and get your bench press, your form, and just work it. You'll have to pull your left and push with your right. And when you switch the other side, you have to do the same. And then if you stand up and do deadlifts with it or bent over rows with it, you can do the same thing. It's just an off balance pull to it or a push. Military press, overhead squats, anything. Man, if you want to make a squat hard, take a mace, hold your hands over your head, hold that mace out to the side as far as you can, and then do some squats. That gets very difficult to do.
I've done it.
Be careful because you'll hurt yourself too. I mean, it's dang. That's doing stuff like that is people really have to be careful because you will pull something if you're not used to that type of strength, and because you have to be concentrated first of all your form has to be good because it's all awkward and off balance. So you got to be careful.
Well, and then the adjustment for that would be to bring the weight towards the center for those of you guys listening and need help getting started with that. Make it more of a on balance thing instead of off balance thing, like David's saying. But yeah, dude, you should make that video. I wrote that article a while ago about reasons to avoid the bench press, and I'm not telling anybody not bench press ever.
No,
my point in the article was the years I spent in the gym, the years I spent myself doing the bench press, seemed counterproductive because it never got to be this huge world class bench press, but it would eat up every Monday, which is International Bench Press Day. You'd spend 3 hours sitting on a bench to get 5 reps in or 5 sets in. And then, honestly, most guys that I see in the gym never are lucky if they ever hit 245, and most of them are just happy if they get 2 plates on there at 225, which is a very mediocre press.
Very.
The majority of people I see, these office guys coming in, are doing that. The other side of that is you're already pronated, you're already leaning forward, you already have internal rotation on every part of your body. Well, from the torso up is all internally rotated, and your hips are going to externally rotate because you're just wound up because you sit at a desk all day.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
All you're doing is feeding that chain. And my job as a coach is to say, hey, look, this is actually not going to be productive for you in the long run. We're going to create a lot of problems in your shoulders, your upper back, and I guarantee you the first time you try to pull something heavy, you're going to tear your bicep because you're so internally rotated and you got such poor external rotation that tie-in of the bicep and pec is so knotted up, it's going to pop. And if not that, you're going to end up with some sort of rotator cuff injury or something like that. And the reason I say it is because I saw it time and time again. So I wrote this article. It's super controversial. I got called names that I didn't even know existed, David. Because you don't mess with people's business. I mean, it's like a religion to some people.
It is. They really take
it serious. I'm not talking about a power lifter where it's a sport, or I'm not even talking about somebody who just does bench press, because just bench press is a sport also. Like, you can just do the bench, you don't have to do that stuff. You can have the chicken legs and not do the deadlift and the squats. You can avoid those altogether if you really, really want to.
That's true.
A 500-pound bench press, and it's impressive. It is. I'm not going to say that it's not unimpressive, and it's not really an amazing feat. But I think what you do ultimately is limit yourself and what your other capabilities and abilities should be. And for me, I look at humans as generalists and should be the most versatile creatures on the planet. You should be able to do whatever it is. You shouldn't have to go out there at Thanksgiving to throw football with your family, because that's what you're doing, and throw out your shoulder because you've done nothing but heavy bench press
the knee
for the whole year. Yeah. Exactly. So I like this application of training, and if I can, if I have to hurt a few feelings, that's fine. If some of those feelings end up scratching their head and saying, wait, maybe this guy's got a point, other people are never going to hear the message, and that's fine. Yeah, and that's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, you can have your dogmas. I've had them before. I've been very set in my ways before in fitness, but eventually I've sort of evolved and moved on when I was ready. And I think that's the purpose. If you're ready to hear, and don't anybody bench press. I bench press probably twice a year, and it's not great. I mean, but I can not bench press all the time ever and walk under and still do 225 for 3. And I'm not a big guy, but it's not great. But still, the point is, I don't have to do it all the time because I do other stuff and I still am strong.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, a bench press it's a perishable skill, first of all. The less you do, the weaker you're going to be at it. And it's a sport. Like you said it yourself, like bodybuilding that uses bench press. That's a sport. They're trying to achieve a physical look in their body. I'm functional. I want to be as big as I can be, as flexible as I can be, as fast as I can be. Like, if I could be 275, lean, and move like a 135-pound man, I'm all in on that all day. I mean, that's just good. You look at somebody like Lawrence Taylor. He didn't look like a power lifter, bodybuilder, but that guy was trained. He could murder you on a football
field. And he went to Carolina.
He did. That's right. He did.
2017 national champs of basketball, my alma mater. Let's give a shout out on the show.
Yeah, that's right.
LT, right. Man, he was amazing. But you're right. I mean, there's something to that, and
And you're not never going to see anybody swinging like okay, we see people. I watched a man named James Wren in Tupelo, Mississippi, bench press 700 pounds. I seen it with my own eyes. I was standing there. They had every 45 in the gym, but you'll never see a man swing a 700-pound club. You'll be lucky to see one that'll do 100. I would be afraid to say you find few people that'll do a 100-pound club with one hand. I mean, because I've swung a 100-pound club at Steve Bellinger's old school barbell club. He's got one. Ryan J. Pitts makes them. They're loadable. And I'm going to tell you something. A 100-pound club is no joke. That's ridiculous. I've done a lot of.
Is that the guy from Stronger Grip?
It is Ryan. Yes, Ryan Pitts.
That's so funny. His name just came up. I reached out to an old friend, Michael Lloyd Billing. He had these old hammers that I remember seeing, and
yes.
And I said, "Where'd you?" I couldn't remember where he got them from, and he said, "What's his name? Pitt, Ryan J. Pitt."
Yes, you should have him on the podcast because he makes all that by hand. Kind of. He's even got, if you're interested in the big jury clubs, I think they're called the big fat wooden ones. He's got one of those. He's got one of those made of steel that you can fill with water. Now you talk about hard. That's going to be difficult right there because it's big. Yeah. He's really good. He's good. Donnie knows him. Rick Brown knows him. I went out and met with Rick, introduced me to Steve Bellinger, and a bunch of people. I met with Kim Fox out there. Got certified through Rick. Met Eric Dole, and just a great group of guys. Just a great group of guys.
Those are some good guys.
They
out
are,
there.
and they know what they're talking about. I mean, these guys are, they're top of the top in Mace Club, Bulgarian Bag Kettlebell. They're on the top. They're Valerie Pulowski, for example, gold medal winner. She loves it. We'll be in Vegas September 14th doing vintage strength games out there.
Donnie talked about that on the show. That seems like really exciting times. It's so cool to know so many people that are going out there for that.
Oh man, William Calvani's coming out. John Hodge, I think, is coming out. Rick Brown, Eric Dole, me, Jason Tackett, Donnie, Valerie will be there. Chris Gilbert, I hope, comes out. I want to get as many guys. I would love you to come out there. I mean, you can swing a mace. You've been swinging it,
What's the date?
September 14th through the 17th, I believe, is when it is.
I will check the books. I know we have a wedding in September.
Yeah. Oh man, I would love, because there's going to be a lot of good competition out there, and me and Jason did 30 pounds, and Rick done a 30-pound set, and we got some attention in Europe. Some guys in Europe, we've got their attention. They want to come to the Arnold next year in Ohio, in Columbus, and do that with us. So maybe we can get that done. But
that'd be cool. Man, it sounds like the Mace community is it's got this small nucleus, because literally everybody I talk to that does Mace. Let's be honest. Rick Brown's his name's gonna come up every single conversation, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I back? Oh wow.
Yeah, you're back. You didn't go anywhere.
Oh well, I got a phone call and I couldn't hear y'all, and I'm like, oh man, somebody's calling me.
No, it's fine.
Sorry.
But so what I was saying is that it seems like the Mace community's got this small but growing nucleus, right? Like,
yes, I hope so.
Obviously, every conversation has Rick Brown in it, because that man's at the center of this whole movement. He's done a ton for the sport. And you got guys like Donnie, who's got a product that's making it accessible to people. Because for a while it was hard to find a Mace anywhere, and of course, why go buy 3 different sizes? And now Donnie's got this Addicts Club, and what a great product that is. And so he's doing stuff, but it seems like it's this real small pocket. And now you guys are like, hey, let's all get together. Let's make it let's get back. It used to be a sport. Let's get everybody excited about it being a sport again. If they're going to have long cycle snatch, why not have a long cycle Mace bell swinging? And so it's starting to grow, and I've seen really over the last 2 years just a ton of traction in it, as
there we go.
People are starting to become aware of it. Like, hey, they're Mace. This is a cool tool. So if you were, let's say this, all right, if you were to start people on a tool, would you start them on Indian clubs, a smaller, like heavier club, more like a 10-pound club, like a steel one, or would you go straight to the Bulgarian bag, or would you go to the Mace? Like somebody starting out, they want to get into circular strength training, they want to get into this rotational stuff. Where would you recommend somebody starting, David?
Well, to be honest, I would recommend a club of some kind, either a homemade if you can't afford one, or an addicts club, because you can go from 3 pounds up. And you being a trainer, it's if they're an athlete, or they were an athlete and they're coordinated, they'll pick this up easier than people that are not. So it kind of depends on their fitness level too with this, because I've seen people that really struggle if they're not coordinated with it, and you want to keep that in mind. But I would start with a club or a Bulgarian bag. And the reason I like the Bulgarian bag is it's not as intimidating. If you drop it or you hit somebody with it or something, it's not going to hurt you. And then lighter Indian clubs are perfect for that as well, because I love swinging heavy. I want to swing the heaviest stuff as long as I can. That's just me. That's just my
Right.
personal goal. But you could take this, and the average guy never go over 15-pound club and achieve a lot of fitness. I mean, it's so versatile with the workouts, the times, the reps, or supersets, or adding it to anything. I mean, a lot of people get defensive, like, oh my God, you're well, I want to do bench press. Well, do bench press, man. You can do bench press and do all kinds
I
of
think
stuff
this
with
would
a
be
club.
the best thing for somebody that does bench press.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
You can
yeah, I'll tell you what, if somebody came to me and said, I'm a competitive power lifter doing bench, and
for sure
I would say all you need is just do some stuff because it's going to help your shoulders in the long run, keep you in the game longer.
take the
I would
hot
steer,
spots out.
I would
Yeah.
steer them in this direction, and I think that they would be very successful. And again, they can ignore my article if they're doing this stuff. You know what I mean? Like they can just ignore it altogether because I'm not telling you to leave it. I'm just
No,
I'm asking you to think outside the box of what a conventional gym is. I'm an unconventional coach, unconventional gym. I got probably the most unconventional gyms you ever seen, man. It's a barn, dude.
I love it. I
In,
love
in
it.
the woods
I do.
with
I'm.
some funky stuff.
It's a dream of mine. That's my dream, because I just want to have like tire flips, Atlas stones, heavy carries, slosh pipes, maces, clubs, Bulgarian bags, kettlebells, rings, ropes.
You,
Um,
you just named everything I got
I
in here
mean,
except for
and
a
then
Bulgarian bag.
you know,
It's on my list.
stones. I've. I mean, I'll just make my own stuff. A lot of my stuff's homemade. Well, I showed you a homemade mace I'm going to be training with pretty soon, that I hope is an edge, will give me an edge in some competition. So,
That thing did look.
and Donnie's, you get a club, you get two clubs and a mace handle from Donnie, and you've got something that's endless. Of, the workouts are endless. You can add it, take it
Yeah.
away, rehab, power, whatever. Um, I'd love to see. You know what? I actually found some old video that was like 1940 video, where there was a class of students and they were using. Everybody had a pair of wooden Indian clubs, and they all did them together in the same movements, the patterns. It was beautiful. It
Yeah.
really is something to see if you can find it.
So
Um,
yeah, I have actually seen that video, and something that was very interesting to me when I first was introduced to clubs. Um, there's this picture, and I cannot think of the name. Man, I might have it right here, but I don't think I'll be able to grab it fast enough. But let's see. I actually might have it right here. There was this picture of this older black gentleman, and he was sitting in front of um, there it is, the Fort A.M. Hewlett. I can't believe, dude, I got my fingers on this resource that fast.
wow.
So Aaron Molyneux Hewitt, and Molyneux is looks like a French name, Molyneux Hewlett. So there's this picture of him, and um, he's seated with what he called the four horsemen of handheld exercise tools. Okay, so
Really?
in this picture is Indian clubs,
wow.
a medicine ball, a long stick. He's got some tall clubs, some short clubs, a tall long stick. Basically like what we use for mobility, just a broomstick looking thing.
Yeah.
And a fat globe dumbbell, and that's it.
Wow.
Okay, so he says Indian clubs, a medicine ball, dumbbells, and a wand is what he called it. It's just a stick, but and this guy was the first African American on staff at Harvard University.
Really?
And he was in charge of physical education and the equipment from 1859 until 1871, which is pretty wild because that's actually during the Civil War, and this guy was like head of PE at Harvard.
Wow, and that's very impressive, actually.
So I see this picture of this guy, and I see this thing. It's an old-timey globe dumbbell, a medicine ball, a stick, and clubs. And I was like, people had it so right.
Yeah.
A long time ago, that it was just basic stuff.
Yep.
And people grab something with their hand, which I think is very important when you're working out. I think this whole thing with machines, you don't really have to grab anything. Like, you're not really gripping it, right? It's all balanced for you and everything. Like I'm a big fan of getting my hand around some iron or grabbing something, and the manipulation of the hand, because I read a really great article by Scott Sonnen one time. It was basically
I know who that guy is.
The evolution of the hand came from the design, the biomechanical design of the hand was to grasp a club or throw a spear. Is sort of what it was made to grab a weapon, essentially.
Yeah.
And so we're not grabbing anymore. We talked about that yesterday. I had Jed Johnson on the phone on the podcast. Yeah. He's the grip monster himself, and he said, "Look, basically, the reason you need to work your grip all the time is because your hand is the number one surface that touches everything."
That's right.
He's absolutely right. Big old light bulb right there for a lot of people. They might be missing that. I mean, it's a real obvious statement, but it's also a very, very profound statement.
Well, if you play any sport, your hand is one of the most important things. I mean, that's where everything comes from first, and that's why I love a club and a mace and a Bulgarian bag over a kettlebell. And I'll tell you why. It's more off balance for one, and second, the grip is different. You grip a club like you grip a beer or a gun or a knife or a stick, and it's just natural. Right, and it's a fluid grip too. Where each finger moves, and it really, because I'm training a guy now, Chuck Wood, and he said, "Man, my hands are failing." I said, "That's because they're the weakest part on you." I said, "What's going to happen?" I said, "It's going to work you from your fingertips back, and your weakest parts are going to show up first, whether it's your hands, your legs, your shoulders. It'll balance out, though, in the end, if you do balanced workouts." And he's like his boy, I'm training him, and he's a golfer, and he went from, I think, like a 9-iron to a 7, or a 7 to a 9. I don't remember which is good. I don't know much about golf. Y'all have to excuse me. I deer hunt and stuff like that. I'm not a big golfer. Probably wouldn't be good at it if I tried it. But I do see the benefit in training with two-handed meals. That's what I have them do a lot of, is two-handed club meals for a golf swing, and it seems to be another buddy of mine. I've been working with him, and he's added about 30 yards to his game. So he's very happy with it, and he's not doing but one couple of every other day, 15 minutes, and that's it. He's not having to. It's really nice to have something that an average guy, like you take a construction guy, he's worked all day long swinging a sledgehammer. Well, he's not going to want to come in and do CrossFit. I'm sorry. But like you take a light set of clubs and get him loose and get his joints moving, he'll love that.
Right. Yep. Some restorative work there, and
right,
get the heart rate up just a little bit.
Yeah, and he won't be.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much to that, and going back to that AW or AM Hewlett character, and when I saw that picture, that was sort of the beginning of the. All right, I've got even the equipment in the gym, because again, I was still at a Gold's Gym then. I was like, none of this makes sense. None of this is natural, and if I want people to move naturally and more functionally, I have to start going in that route. And that's sort of what propelled me in towards the direction of this whole unconventional thing. Like, man, look, you just need a stick and a ball, and a club. And
yeah,
you got everything. I mean,
hey, my first club was, and well, I still have it. It's one of the large wiffle ball bats full of sand and duct taped. Literally, that's it. And then I have one that I put 15. I tell you, if you want something to swing really good, I'll give everybody a good thing. Go get a wiffle ball bat and get some BBs, and don't get a lot of BBs, because I've got one that I put 15 pounds in, and that's heavy. 15 pounds of BBs. It's going to be 2 feet from your hand, because that bat doesn't weigh anything. And then you fill the rest up with spray foam, cap it off, and you're done, and you're swinging. And it's very smooth because of that too. So if anybody wants to try it and they don't want to go drop a couple $100, because I know they can be expensive, even the wooden ones can be expensive because they're pieces of art. Go get you a baseball bat and start trying it. And if you like it, you move up to professional equipment in no time.
Yeah, that's I always love the sort of tips and tricks for making your own stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was a poor guy, so
I know a lot of our guys in these a lot of the guys in our circles have made their own stuff, and I just think it's awesome. I remember
maybe we'll make a museum one day, and we'll put all our old homemade stuff in it so people can come look at it or something crazy. I don't know. Put it in your gym in a case or something.
And of course, we're gonna, everybody's gonna have their fails. So I'll share one with you guys on air.
Yeah.
So I was making a slosh tube one time, and I said, hey, well, what's better than just water in a slosh tube? How about some water and sand? Right? Because I live here at the beach, and I was like, I bet that'll have some funky dynamics to it as I get going. Well, we get the cap, we get the PVC pipe, we get the glue to seal, that keeps it watertight. We get all that, and then I put in, I don't know, 3-4 pounds of playground sand or something like that, maybe 6 pounds, something, not much. It didn't seem like much. This pipe's about 9 feet long, and then I put the rest of it like halfway full of water.
Wow.
Right? So not even a third full of water, like halfway full. I was like, all right, this will be good. Sort of lifted it up vertically, just put 2 hands on it and sort of picked up. Yeah, it feels like it's gonna be all right. I think that's gonna work us. So I'll seal it up on the other end, and I don't know if we didn't seal it quite tight enough or whatever, but ultimately what happened was either there was too much water or too much sand in there or something. What ended up was I made mud. And it caked in at one end and never sloshed back the other way.
That's perfect.
So the purpose of a slosh tube would be this wobbly, sort of look wave-like movement all the time, and you're constantly stabilizing while it's wobbling. No, mine was just really heavy at one end and then never moved at all. And you couldn't do anything with it. I mean, it was like 80 pounds on one side and empty on the other side. Never did anything. So I'm sure people I love it. We should actually open up a listener write-in thing where everybody writes a little brief paragraph or something where they failed on making some equipment. I'm sure there'd be some hilarious stories in there.
Yeah. I've got some fire hose, and the first time I seen a Bulgarian bag fire hose, this guy in oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot where his Hankley's. They call him Hankley's. Rick knows him real well. He's over in
Hankley's, Hank Baker.
Yes.
In the Netherlands. Yeah.
Yes.
He's a good dude.
He's lifting like boat anchors. He's lifting. He's got like one of his maces is just literally a tree log, like what we split for firewood, and he's got a pipe on it. That's one of his maces. I mean, you gotta love the guy. I mean, he's awesome. And he's worked with Rick, and I've worked with Rick out there, like I said. And if anybody wants to work with like Rick, I just want to say, like Donnie and Rick and Valerie, reach out to them on Facebook. They're very friendly, very knowledgeable, and they're very helpful people. Very good.
Valerie came up in conversation today with Mike, our producer of the show, as having her on here upcoming.
Oh yes, you should.
So
definitely.
We'll Valerie, if you're listening, we're going to shoot you an email and get you on the show. But it's so funny, man. I love these conversations. I love talking to people because all these names come up, and it's like people we just got done talking about, and it's just this constant. It really, I feel like the podcast is been 28 episodes of one conversation that's ongoing because everybody's such a small, beautiful community of unconventional trainers.
Yeah,
and we're all after the same goal to make people better and to help people out and to spread our love and our passion for what we do. And I really feel that's why it's just this like same conversation with a lot of different topics. I mean, we're always covering something new, something fresh, but it's just this undertone of intertwining thread of just similarities, and that's what it is, man. So we love what we do, and that's why we do it. And um, even if we're not making a buck, we're still going to be doing what we're doing because
for sure,
we love it, and we see the benefit in it. And I think it's so cool that you took it upon yourself to rehab a major injury. I mean, that's serious stuff, and I want people to overlook that part of your story. I mean, that was the beginning of the story. We just sort of scooted right past it because we got so excited and got into some other topics.
I tell you this, my best friend, the guy, and this gives me an edge because my very best friend does the same training, and a lot of guys can't find another guy within 20 miles of them doing this. And Jason being right next door to me, I'll tell you, he had a stroke in his sleep when he was 39 years old, and he's 40 now. So that ain't been but a year or so ago. He's 41 or something. I don't remember. But listen, he rehabbed himself, and they told him that they didn't think he was going to be able to walk or talk, and he's 100%. I mean, he beat me at Mace. He can swing a 30-pound mace for 15 minutes. I've seen him do it, and going from 20 pounds to 30. Clubs, kettlebells. He works out with MMA guys in Tupelo, a gym. The guy's a champion over here, and Jason goes over there and trains with them and knocks around. I mean, and I want him to be on the podcast, but I tell you, he's deaf. So I told him, I said, well, we'll try to get you on there if we have to drive to North Carolina. You just be there in the room with us. So we were joking and laughing about that because he's got an amazing story. Between he's been in 2 severe car wrecks. One was with his little boy that put his boy in a wheelchair for 6 months. I mean, it's a drunk driver hit him at a red light, and the man, he's come out of that, and dude, he's functional. He can move. He's fast. Weighs like 190, swinging a 30-pound mace. That's no joke. That's I'm 270. There's a difference between me being 270 and swinging 30 and him 190 swinging 30. Or Donnie Joffredino at like what, 185, 170. And I've seen
Donnie and I figured out we were almost the same frame. We're about the same size.
That guy's swinging 45-pound clubs with one hand. I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible. That's heavy. That's heavy.
So real quick, we got time for about one more little anecdote. Dude, I think this is funny. I already know the answer, but I want our listeners to hear it. So you're the only guy in Mississippi basically does what you do, and the reason I ask is because I feel kind of the same way. For a while, I felt the same way where I live, but there's a lot more people in North Carolina now that are into this sort of lifestyle. But definitely in my hometown, I felt like I was all alone for a long time. Before other people started jumping in at it. But it seems like it might even be a little bit more of an anomaly where you're at. Is that the case?
Yeah, it's listen, when I first started this, my neighbors thought I was crazy. They're like, the guy's out here swinging a big lollipop around. I was like, they called it redneck workout equipment. And I love guys that can do, I've got all these guys, these really big country. I mean, these rednecks, man, and they're cocky, they're strong. And I'll swing a 25-pound club with one hand. I'll be talking to them, and then I'll just hand it to them. And you'll see their face. They're like, okay, now that ain't right. And it tickles me because I want to help everyone understand that I'm not trying to replace this. And this isn't replacing what you're doing. This is just another arrow in your quiver, as Rick Brown says. I mean, it'll just make you better at everything, I believe. And I think it was a gift from God, to be honest with you. If you believe in that sort of thing, that he's given, because I'm very passionate. Like you said, if everybody else quits, if I'm the only guy in Mississippi ever, then I'll just be the only guy. That's just the way it is. I'll never quit if I have to make my own equipment, because it's just so natural, and I love it. And I can do a 30-minute workout and the next day not feel like I've had my butt kicked. I know you've went through leg day where the next day you get up and you can't hardly walk or walk up steps. I mean, and if you work a construction job, that's painful all day.
Yeah, I've actually recently been heavily focused on single leg deadlifts, just to sort of rebuild a foundation. And every time I do them, my ass is so sore. Next day, I just feel it all day long. It's like,
yeah,
but it's incredible. It's really helping me with a lot of other long-term goals that I have in strength right now, to get that single leg support. And Mike Boyle is such a big fan of the one that, I don't know if you know who Mike Boyle is, but if you haven't,
I've heard of him.
Look up his stuff, read his stuff. He's unbelievable. I've heard him. I've had the pleasure of hearing him speak twice.
Now, do you kick your leg out to the what does your other leg do? Is it like up in front?
So I do them both with kettlebells and barbell, but recently I've been doing with the barbell. Nothing major on there, just 135. So just plate on each side. I'll grab it like I grab a normal deadlift. And typically how I'll start is I'll go ahead and just pick it up and then sort of find my center, find my balance. And let's say if I was doing my right leg would be planted. I'm holding the bar overhand grip like a normal deadlift, very natural position for the hand. And I'm going to float my left leg back.
Okay.
Slight bend in it, just sort of let it relax back there. But I'm going to come down into my deadlift position, go to the bottom, touch it, and then I'm going to come up and extend my hips. Squeeze my ass at the top. Try not to let my back leg touch, but if I need a little tap with the left toe, just to sort of find my center, that's fine because all the weight's still on my right leg. And I'll go down. I've been doing 3 to 5 on each leg for several sets, going back and forth. But that single leg strength's really incredible. But I definitely can relate to the feeling it the next 3 days or 2 days. It's just it's just where it's at in the training right now. But
yeah.
You're right. A lot of days I don't feel, I feel kind of like, oh yeah, I did something yesterday, but I can do everything I need to do today and more.
Donnie Giaffredino told me the other day, we were talking, he said, you know what the best workout is? I said, what is that? He said, it's the workout now he was talking about clubs. He said, where you do a workout and then you set the club down and you're like, oh man, I could have done way heavier. I could have done way more. That's what you're thinking. And then you go get you a drink of water and like 10 minutes later, it hits you like, holy crap, and I'm like, well, you know what? That's very interesting because that's happened to me and I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, that's awesome. I like that because I look at a scale with a club or a mace, like, you take a 0 and you go left to right and you go 1 to 12 or 1 to 10 to the right and 1 to 10 to the left for your speed. Like in the middle of the 0, that's your most comfortable, smoothest technique, smoothest rhythm. And then the faster you go, the harder it is, or the slower you go, the harder it is in those two directions. So you have a very dynamic aspect of lifting there that a lot of equipment just won't give you. You just can't do it with, like a bench press. You can't achieve that with bench pressing. There's no way because you have to stop. Like you got to stop at the top and stop at the bottom. And these exercises, they don't stop like a mill or a 360. It's continuous, a continuous circle, a flow.
And there's always there's a time where you're in tension and a time where you're relaxed during the whole movement.
Yes, and
it's sort of this, it's on-off firing, and I find that to be very applicable for sport because in athletics, let's take rugby for an example, right?
Yeah.
So rugby, amazing athletes. These guys are absolute studs. They're moving all the time, but every now and then they got to turn on, go totally fast twitch, right, for a sprint. But then they got to recover because the ball might move the next direction. And then there's this strength aspect where you're pressing into another human being. You've got that, and then you've got that kinesthetic intelligence being you're acting upon, but also acting upon you, right? Another human being will be able to think with their muscles, right? That makes sense. Like a wrestler.
Yes.
The reason wrestlers are so damn strong is because they're going against something that is intelligent and moving weight against them always. It's not fixed. It's dynamic, but it also has intelligent. It has life to it. So we take a sport like rugby. Well, there's going to be times where they need to not fire. Even in a scrum, they need to not fire everything, or they need to be able to do that. So training like this really makes a lot of sense, where you just sort of program the body, relax and flow, and now fire, now be strong. Now fire, now relax, now fire, and this sort of thing. And also, obviously, it translates to martial arts.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Without question.
Yes. Rotational. I would like to build a couple of pieces of equipment like I had this crazy idea, and I can't believe I'm going to tell you about it, but I am.
You're not telling me, you're telling the whole world.
Well, I'm telling you, I want to make a pair of weighted chucks, nunchucks, like 5 pounds a piece, and that's going to be very different. So I've because I like working with weighted. You mentioned the picture where the guy had the stick. Well, one of my first pieces of equipment was
those are my nunchucks right there.
See, I love it, and it coordinates together like a weighted bar. Just you can use a weighted bar in so many ways, like a mace or a club, or if you watch kung fu movies and you see all the rotation that they do with the staffs. Now you imagine taking a guy that can swing a staff for 30 minutes and then make it 50-pound staff, and then he could achieve crazy.
Have you seen that's actually used to be an old practice in kung fu. They have this very long, heavy axe looking thing. Really long pole. The pole's probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 feet long, and I think it's 100 kilos. I will find that video and send it to you. But there's
that's 200 pounds. That's heavy.
Yes, sir. It
is heavy. That's no.
But these guys, they're not very big, and it used to be a practice. I think the monks did or something. But I saw a video not more than a month and a half ago with it, and thought it was unbelievably impressive. I actually put it on my Facebook wall. If you dig back deep enough, but the guy even spun it like over his shoulder on his head. I mean, it's unbelievable what he did with this thing. And I've seen another act that was in something similar to a Cirque du Soleil. It was a strongman guy, and he was doing this sort of juggling, balancing act with just this ridiculously heavy but long object.
Was he using big bales, like big dumbbells, spinning them around his neck and throwing big kettlebells?
I've seen that.
That's crazy. That guy, I don't know who that guy is, but that guy is strong, because that was some very, very heavy weight he was lifting. I mean, it really was. And he was rolling like big balls on his shoulders and his arms. It was incredible. I saw that.
Those old-time strongman acts, they're super impressive.
They are. I think Bud Jeffries is one of the last few true strongmen with some of the stuff that he does. Things he come up with. It's crazy.
I agree. But yeah, going back to your point that some of the best workouts are the ones you feel like you didn't do much, but the next day you're working on something. Great point. We actually had the session right before I hopped on here with you was just like that. We did some very technical breakdowns of the Turkish get-up, some time under tension stuff.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Some different holds, bottoms-up holds and open hand holds, sort of what I call a cannonball hold, to make sure that all the stabilizers are fine. And then we broke down some nuances of the lizard crawl. And I got done with the class like, man, I feel like we didn't really cover anything. And then they were sort of like, I'm shaking everywhere. I was like,
fatigue.
I guess we did do something because we really worked the brain and we really worked the stabilizers. And that's just a cool thing that you could do as a coach.
Yes. Yes.
There.
Making people count. Sometimes I like to work out to where I'll just pick up the mace or the club and I'll just grease the groove, I think, as Rick Brown calls it. You just play with it. You work. You get in a flow. You just do what's comfortable for you. And then you'll take workouts to where you make people think, okay, I've got to do 40 reps a minute, and then I'll rest a minute, and then I need to do 40 reps a minute every minute for so many rounds. I mean, you go into – I've done one where I did 30 rounds a minute. Every minute I used a 20-pound mace, 40 reps a minute, every other minute for 30 rounds. I think it was 1,200 reps, and I got a runner's high.
That's awesome.
About 800 reps in, I got a runner's high. About 600 to 700 reps in, I wanted to throw it down and go in the house and cry. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm telling you, if you try something like that, like a marathon workout like that, you wear shorts, no shoes, no shirt, have your towel and water right beside you, because you're going to have to pull 40 reps a minute every minute for 30 rounds. And that it's very difficult to do. But there's guys out there doing it. Jason Tackett, my partner, he did it with a homemade 30-pound mace. He just took a 20-pound kettlebell and welded a 10-pound bar on the end of it. And that was his first mace. For real. He started with 30 pounds. It's crazy. All he could do with it at first is hit it with like a sledgehammer to a tire. And he worked up from that to 360s to doing a marathon workout where I did it with my 20 and he had to show me up and do it with that 30. And he told me when he got done, he couldn't walk down the stairs. Like he had to just lay down upstairs for a while before he could get up. I was like, wow. And we were afraid that we were going to be like, what's that going to do to our body? Will it hurt us? And it didn't do anything. I mean, we got up the next day and you could feel your muscles being just really fatigued, but you didn't hurt because I believe they breathed.
You weren't crippled.
Through it. Right. I was like, wow.
Well, and I think that the real takeaway point here, and I think this is awesome for our listeners, and we'll end on this because we're slap out of time, and I'd love to have you on all night. But
I've enjoyed it. I have.
But I think the real takeaway point of that is that a lot of times when we start to talk about clubs and Indian clubs, steel clubs, and maces, and this rotational things, that it does sort of have this soft look to it. The weapons. I mean, the tools look like weapons, so they do kind of have this badass edginess to it. But when you talk about, hey, look, I can do this for this long, and it just sort of makes me feel kind of good all over, versus the misconception, if you ask me. Like a lot of people think you got to be laying in a pool of your own sweat, blood, and vomit for it to be worked out.
That ain't me. No gain.
That ain't me. I don't promote that. But I do understand that there are times where you should be able to increase the intensity and actually feel like you got something done. And I think
definitely
what you just said there is that, look, the mace is a great tool for just building awesome bulletproof shoulders. It's great for your joints. It's great for restoring. I mean, coming off injuries, you've had a story about this. Your friend Jason had a story about this. I know many other people. My shoulder, I did a little bit of physical therapy and then got back on the mace and the clubs, and I haven't had any problems ever since then. But it got to where I couldn't even move the sheets on my bed. This was early last year, or maybe the year before that. I can't remember. I might have been 2 years at this point. But the point is that yes, guys and girls listening to the show, you can have an intense, just bust ass workout with the mace, with the club, and David and I, we encourage you guys to go out there and explore it. Like I said, we had Donnie on the show last week. He makes the Addicts clubs. We've got great resources out there. You can look up guys like David, look up guys like Don, Jaffordino, look up guys like Rick Brown. These people up, if you want, ask me a question. I'm not as versed in it as these guys are because it's not my primary tool, but it's certainly something I'm comfortable and confident with. But we encourage people to get into circular training because
for sure.
It is wonderful.
The more the merrier.
That's right. It's right. And you can't really overdo it with the circular stuff. Like you said, it allows the muscles to breathe. Oxygen sort of always going to them. You don't really get that lactic buildup.
Yes, and that's a big deal. I think.
I do find that my grip gets burnt out on the thick handle that I've got here when I first started, and now it doesn't really bother me. I mean, it's not really a chore to get to 100. 50 one way, 50 the other way.
Right.
Is kind of a nice thing. I'm actually probably gonna hop off here and hit a couple of them before I leave the office tonight, just to feel the groove of it and end on topic. Listen, I want to thank you for being on our show, and I want to give you an opportunity right now to shout out to everybody where they can find you, reach you. If you've got a YouTube channel, a Facebook page, but email, anything you want your listeners to be able to reach you, a website, and where you're at. So we want to hear that because we want people to be able to get a hold of you and for you to get a couple inquiries about training from this.
Yeah, you can reach me at Facebook, David Glissen, or Southern Fried Strength Training. My email address is davidglissen.com, gmail.com, and you spell my name Glissen. And yeah, we're going to start doing some video. I'm going to work with Valerie and Vintage Strength Training. We may do some YouTube channel. I'm going to start doing some workshops around my area and doing more traveling to other gyms. Like I'd like to come see you and go to Florida and see Donnie and
come on out.
Just try to spread this thing as much as I can, because there's room for everybody, any athlete, any age. And my ultimate goal in this is I would like to see this in nursing homes, because in the South we're fat and we're sick. A lot of people are. And our elderly people losing mobility. If we could give somebody the ability to just brush their teeth or use the bathroom by themselves, get some more dignity back, because how men are, and very elderly women, very Southern women, they don't want, so I've had a lot of grandmothers pass away, and I've seen a lot of, I've been in a lot of nursing homes for my job. I do a lot of pest control, and, and I just want to put this in there. I think it would help. I think it would work too.
I couldn't agree more.
And I don't think we should charge $1 million to put this in nursing homes either. You got to show people. I believe in giving more than I take. I try to anyway. I learned that from Rick Brown. He said, always give more than you take. And he's right. He's absolutely right, because you touch people if you're passionate and you believe what you're saying and you believe in it, they'll be able to tell. I promise you. So yeah, you can just reach me at Facebook, Southern Fried Strength Training, email me. And we're just going to get this thing kicked off in Mississippi as much as I can, brother. Have you down, Rick, just whatever. It'll be awesome.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the nursing home thing. My mom's a geriatric physical therapist for 38 years, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think they could benefit from this. Listen, David, we're out of time. That was one of the longer ones, man. But I knew when two Southern boys got to chat, and we were going to be on here for a while.
I ramble forever.
And we didn't even get to talk about home cooking, so we skipped that part. Listen, man, I appreciate you being on the show. Guys, thanks for listening as always and for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time on the Wake and Live podcast.